Morning Stampers, happy Friday. Welcome to Maker Mornings with Meg. So, oh geez, sorry. Today's video, I am going to talk about a question that actually is one of the things that people comment all the time or get questions about all the time. And that is, oh my gosh, Meg, how do you come up with so many cards? So yes, this is video 205 in the Maker Mornings with Meg series. And so that's 205 projects. And so I wanted to share some secrets of my design process with you today, some tips on doing how to come up with ideas. And it has a lot to do with a kind of a makeover and having some ideas set in your mind ahead of time. So since it's Friday, when I was coming up with a card, I thought, let's do something in contrast to what I did on Wednesday, which was the super bright saturated daisy card. I hope you guys liked that one. But I decided I wanted to go back to black and white today, just as sort of a contrast. And so a lot of times when I come up with a card idea, I don't just sort of pull something out of nowhere. I kind of have some ideas in the back of my head about what I want to do. And so today's card, I really wanted to use the Peaceful Place designer series paper, which is the winter trees one that actually matches the paper pumpkin that just came. So I'll be showing my paper project alternate projects next week, but it's black and white. And I was kind of thinking, well, you know what? I did Peaceful Place the other day, and I did it with that polar bear stamp set. So this is an extended Z-fold card that I'd showed last week, I think episode 201-ish, something like that. So this one was my idea for that day. But then I was looking at our little squirrel card, our Nuts About Squirrels friend here, with that peekaboo front card like this. So that sort of split front peekaboo circle. So what I wanted to do was come up with something that combined the two of them, okay? So when you're doing your design process, come up with a starting point, have a card in mind, have another card in mind, have a color scheme in mind, and figure out how to bring those together. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna make a split front card using the polar bear stamp set and this color scheme, but a design that's a little bit more like our Nuts About Squirrels card here. So, all right, you guys ready for this? All right, happy Friday. And welcome to everybody, Tanya, Margaret, Gail, Deborah, Sue, Vicky, Louise, Cheryl, Taryn, Elaine, everybody. The gang's all gathered, right? Okay, so I'm gonna flip my camera down here and we are going to get started with this. So again, here's our starting point cards. Or, you know, a lot of times if you don't have the card, you would look for you would look for a sample in the catalog. There are lots of places to get your ideas. All right, so I have some pieces here and I'll point out where we got them as we went along. But our card base here is cut to 7.5 by 5.5 inches. Okay, and then it's scored at 4 1/4 so that we have our split front card base set here. And then I have a designer series panel where I cut it to actually 5 1/4 by 4, and then just cut off that last inch there that is gonna go on the inside of our card. And when you're doing this split front, it's a really great design. Here's actually another split front card that I'd done earlier in our series. This is the Jungle Cat stamp set and the designer series paper. So again, split front. But we're gonna go, I'm gonna give you some tips for the order to assemble this in so that you don't get yourself in trouble with the pieces not overlapping correctly. Okay, now I knew, so we have kind of our layout here, but I didn't really wanna cut the circle in the front. So I decided to keep the circle element, but not cut it. So this is gonna layer on top here, all right? Now to go with that, we're gonna need some other pieces. So let's start gluing things down. This Peaceful Place paper is really pretty, and it is foiled on one side, so it's got silver foil on one side, and then the other side is sort of those grayscale detailed prints, which are so pretty. Now, here's one of those things. I'm not gonna glue this down yet because I need to do our card inside first, okay? So let's go ahead and move to the inside of our card. Now I knew that when I did our Nuts About You squirrel card, I had to be really careful where I put the greeting because I had to leave space for this. So one of the advantages of not cutting the circle in the front is that I get this whole panel here, so I don't have to worry about that so much. So let's go ahead and bring in my Arctic Bears set and move some of these things over. So I have my Arctic Bear set here, and I'm gonna want to stamp on the inside. And I really love this scene here with the what is this, mountains and so forth, kind of by the sea. And so I'm gonna bring this in here, and add this to our card. Deborah says it's really cold in Minnesota. Well, I guess this polar bear is for you, Deborah. It's pretty chilly here today, but not Minnesota cold, I'm sure. Okay, so as I mentioned before, on this element, you wanna make sure that the water lines are your horizontal, okay? There's a lot of diagonals and peaks and valleys, but water is always on the horizontal line, so you wanna stamp that water line. I gotta get my case out of the way. You wanna stamp that water line so that it is parallel to the bottom of your card, okay? That will help you keep that lined up. And then I'm gonna come back with this cute little polar bear for the inside of our card. And I think I've left enough space to stamp him in this open area there. Yep. All right, so now we've got our polar bear and our mountains. And for this card, I think last time I did the thinking of you with the my heart is with you every step of the way. So let's do this time the thank you words that are included in this. 2 simple words filled with warmth and gratitude. So I'm gonna go ahead and ink these up. Now, when you are stamping with a new stamp or one that you haven't gotten out for a little while, you always wanna make sure it's straight before you put it on your project, because that's going to save you a little headache from having to figure out how to recover from crooked. So this is where I stamp on my grid paper. I always figure out, you know, a place where I can line it up. So right now I think that it will be pretty straight. And what I see is that my gratitude is going up a tiny bit at the end. So I'm gonna try to re-stamp that, and I'm gonna correct for that ahead of time by just a smidge putting gratitude down, and you can see how that's a little bit straighter, okay? So now I know where my straight line is, just a teeny turn down for our greeting, okay? So there we have that. Now, the reason that I wanted you to do the inside of the split front circle card first, and by the way, this paper is 3.5 inches wide by 5 1/4, is that we want our greeting layer here, this white layer, not to peek out. So if I had already put down my pretty 1-inch strip for my split front, then I would be having this white hang out over the edge, and I don't want that. So that's why we're doing this way. Okay, so if you guys missed the very beginning, today's card is talking a little bit about a card makeover, if you will, or taking one design and turning it into another. So what I wanted to do is combine our split front circle so you can kind of see how we have kind of got this design element repeated, but instead of having the circle cut, I'm gonna have the circle on top, and I'm using elements from my polar bear card, my extended Z-fold card the other day. So you see how that works. All right, so we're gonna pop this on here. I wanna make sure that my elements are square. I always have a hard time sticking down the foiled paper, but I think it'll be okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop this on here. And I'm gonna use some dimensionals. So I'll bring these in here. Let's see. How's everybody doing this morning? You guys have fun plans for your Friday? Our Friday night is going to be spent at football game. It's senior night. So my senior gets to be announced and escorted for senior night. So that's kind of fun. Marching band. All right, so we have this on here. Now, we want to add our elements. So obviously our polar bear and our greeting. So we're gonna go with the thank you for this. So let's get our polar bear here stamped. And here he is. I'm using Memento Black for all this, which is hands down my go-to for gorgeous black stamped images. Okay, just give it a second. You don't have to speed stamp. You can set this on here and give it some time for that ink to transfer. And then we're gonna die cut our polar bear. So all the dies here in the stamp set are great ones for coordinating and for the extra elements. I love the extra element pieces of this one, including this iceberg. So we're gonna go ahead and die cut this iceberg as well as our bear friend. And through the magic of television, I have our bear friend and the iceberg. And let's see, can you guys see those? I'm not sure how well you can see. It's dry embossed, so it's got these images. Maybe you can see it better on the back. It's got these lines on it, which just add a little extra kind of nicety to that shape. All right, now I have this tip for you. So do you guys ever, maybe this never happens to you, maybe your die cutting is always perfect. Sometimes when I die cut something, it ends up just a teeny bit off. So it's a little tighter over here and a little looser over here. And I don't really want to redo it because it's pretty good. So my tip for that is you can kind of repair a die cut often by just trimming extra away from that sort of extra area. Okay, so I'm going to just take that off. And now, honestly, I don't think you would ever notice that this die cut was a teeny bit off because we just took away that little sliver of paper there. So use that trick sometimes when you want to, you know, like, oh, that die cut's pretty good, but not exactly perfect. All right, so we're going to pop our bear friend on here. And I'm going to put a Stampin' Dimensional here under his bottom end. And I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue here on the front because I want this to be kind of even here on our bear. And I guess I should probably use there we go. I should use our iceberg as our starting point because this is going to have to go kind of here under his feet. So that is going to fit on here like this, and I'll pop some glue on here also where I know it's going to contact our circle because I don't want to have glue floating around in the middle of the air. All right, and that I'm going to kind of keep horizontal too because that's our water line, right, on this little iceberg piece. And then we need a greeting. So I'm going to bring in another strip of basic white. I don't know about you guys, but I get scraps like this just all the time. And I'm going to stamp this on here, and that's pretty crooked. So let me try one more time. I should use my own trick. There we go. One more time to see if I can get a little closer. No, that's good. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is trim this down because I don't want it to be quite so tall. So I'm gonna use my scissors and trim down. And I just got that like crooked on every single side. So let's try this again. Using your paper trimmer is always a safe bet. I'm gonna pull this side down just a little bit. And then this part here is not as straight as I would want. There we go. Okay, so now we have our little thank you that's gonna go on here. And we're gonna pop this up here on our card. So you can kind of figure out where you want your thank you to go, but honestly, I feel like right here is the best choice because it really adds to our focal point. We don't wanna distract from our focal point. We want to add to our focal point. So I'm gonna pop a dimensional under this and stick it down. And then we need an embellishment of some kind, some blingy whatever. Now, when I did our Z-fold card the other day, on this one, I used all those shimmer sequins, which are part of the Peaceful Place suite. And then I decided that maybe for this one, I go just a little bit more subtle, maybe not sequins. Let's see. Oh, Sue said, could you swipe the iceberg with a touch of green ink? Yes, you could. And actually, probably if I were going to do this again, what I would do is I would actually ink the die itself. So let's see. Actually, I can show you. I'll show you kind of what I have in mind. So I would use my basic gray or my smoky slate because smoky slate's a little lighter, and I would just tap my die into it, not hard, just enough where the tops of those little ridges were gonna pick up ink. And then I would put that on my cardstock and run it through. And what you would get is you would get a really nice highlight of those lines there. So if you wanted to accent it a little more, it looks kind of nice in person. but for video, I think it's probably pretty hard to see. So yeah, you could definitely accent that. Okay, so bling though, I decided not to use the sequins for this one. What I wanted to use instead was the metallic pearls. And my bracelet got caught on something. So these come in silver and in gold, and so I'm just gonna grab some of these silver ones here. Remember, cut your packages open on the side and take your pick tool for simple picking up of the dots. So it's a slide and stick, basically. So I'm just gonna slide my dot and stick it here on our card, slide and stick. Let's see, put it down there. All right, so there I have our dots. And so again, we have accented our focal point rather than distracting from it. And let's take a look back now at our other sort of inspiration cards to kind of see how these come together. So we had our inspiration from our Nuts About Squirrels friend here, and we had our inspiration from our extended Z-fold card here. And so you can kind of see how these two come together. So we have the color scheme and the bear sort of idea, but then the layout from Nuts About Squirrels and how they come together to make sort of this card here in the center, okay? So if you're thinking about how to come up with some designs, you know, have a couple starting points in mind and then combine them. So let's see. Oh, Cheryl says she's prepping the old stone house in Rochester, Illinois for an open house festival tomorrow and Sunday. Oh, hey, that's kind of fun. You never know, Cheryl. I think we have soccer on Sunday in Springfield, so maybe we'll look you up between games. And Sue says she likes that ink idea. Yes, definitely a great way to add color to here. And let's see, somebody else had a weekend comment. Tanya. Oh, Tanya's planning for grandkids, for Halloween with her grandkids next weekend. So yeah, Halloween's coming. I wore my pumpkin shirt, see, just for the occasion, because there's only so many times a year that you can wear a jack-o'-lantern shirt. So I figured I would live it up, right? I have a couple days left. All right, well, I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend, that you have some fun things in mind for your fall weekend. And that you might pull out some stamps and make some cards and share some greetings with some friends or family members to kind of add some bright to their day. I suppose this card isn't quite as bright as the one we did the other day, but go with the occasion, right? Got to come up with the right card for the right person. So I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend, a great Friday, and I will be back on Monday to share some more projects with you. So happy stamping all. Thanks for joining us.